Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday night nonfiction book club. So tonight we are doing. Let me find my book. Here it is. Got all these props covering everything, but this is the book we're talking about: the Ultimate Prepper Pantry Survival Kit. We're going to be doing Chapter 7: Guarding Your Goods: Strategies for Securing and Concealing Your 90-Day Food Supply. So I'm going to go a little bit beyond the book. We'll talk about that. My gosh, I am really excited about the end of month fiction book club. That's this one here. So all of the tabs are things that are technically wrong in this book. So I tell you, golly, I printed out. I've done some great circle maps. But I've got them tabbed. I want to keep them tabbed to show you the routes of the missiles and why her whole theory just goes down in flames like you would not believe, because she didn't do her homework and find out how will the missiles fly and how will they be detected and over what will they fly and who will be able to shoot them down. So just looking forward to. I'm going to have a blast with this one. It's going to be fun. So let's see who else here. I saw that Butch Graves was one of the first, or Scott Hummer. Scott Hummer was one of the first, was the first. Welcome, Scott. Always good to see you. Don't worry about missing last week. You can catch it up by doing watching the recording. But we are always so happy to have you with us when you are here. So Kaylin Strain, of course, another one of our favorites. Little Lone Prepper, another one. There's Butch Graves. I knew I'd seen him. And who else? Tammy Harder, Diana 2, Creative Redundancy. God, look at all these great people. Utah Mike, Cats and Prepping. And wow. Okay, so we got a whole bunch of people here. Exciting book. And I went to the Bell County Preparedness group. And they have shown up on a couple of these lives, and I invite them always. What a great! It's small. It's not that big as far as the two meetings I've attended. I think it's probably been an average attendance, maybe 6 or 7 people. But oh my gosh, let me tell you, the information that they pass out is unbelievable and quite appropriate. Because one of the things that I learned, I said, "This is what I want," and the leader said, "Well, you can't have that, but you can do this." And I go, wow. So I was able to get it, and that'll be part of tonight's discussion. So they just full of information. One guy is a security specialist that is securing areas. And so just listening to him talk is just unbelievable. I can't tell you. It's just so super exciting to go there. Just great classes this last month. Just really excited about that. Monday night, we used to have something called the Texas Preparedness Group, and it was statewide, and we were pretty big and pretty active and did a lot of really great stuff. And we had District 13 here in the greater Austin area, and we had a really good group. We did monthly training, and we realized that because we were so disparate in the county, in the 5-county area, that we were not there to form a group. We were there to form leaders of other groups. And so that's what we did, was we trained trainers basically in that group. We were up we had a table, and we were up at the Bell County Mother Earth News event in February of 2020. And this guy walked up to me and says, "Hey, I have these." And they were pandemic survival kits that he had bought. They were excess from the U.S. government, and he bought them, and he had, pallets full of them. And I said, "Well, I really don't have that much money with me and don't have that much money, but I have a store. That'd be great." And, we've just had these inkling hearings about this thing coming. And remember, it started in December 2019. And this is February of 2020. I said, those might come in handy. I said, give me 5 cases of them. So spent about $10,000 Sure enough, I sold those in the next 2 weeks. I called him and asked him for another 5 cases. Well, the price had gone up because now they were in demand to 15,000. Sold those in 2 weeks. Then I bought another 5 cases, and those cost 20,000. Sold those in 2 weeks. But anyhow, I sold 15 cases, but one of my customers complained that I was gouging him because the prices he was paying for the second group that he purchased weren't the same price as the first group. And I said, here, I'll show you my receipts. I'm not even marking these up by normals. Where normally you get 100% commission. Okay. So if you pay $4 for something, you sell it for $8, and that's 100% commission. And I was selling it for less than a 25% commission. So if it cost me $4, I was selling it for $5, because I just wanted to cover my business expenses and wanted to get as many product out on the street as possible to help people. And but he thought I was gouging people. So I got audited, and guess what? I was actually underpricing compared to everybody else. So that felt good. But anyhow, so that's kind of a terrible thing to get off on a tangent about. However, that group has not had a meeting since February of 2020. And we had our first meeting again Monday night. I had to drive to Marble Falls, had a great chicken fried steak at City Grill in Marble Falls. And but we had a good meeting. We talked about planning, getting together, and getting back together on a monthly basis. So even though we haven't met now in 5 years, this is the 5th anniversary of our last meeting this month. So it's just great to see those old guys. It was fantastic. But anyhow, let's get into tonight's content. Let me see. There are several Iowa online prepper groups, with one divided into zones. My problem is getting to events, so no one wants to give rides to non-drivers. Well, and that's I have taken over as the leader of District 13 Austin Area Prepper Net Group, and that's, I think, one of the main reasons why we have such poor attendance in that group, and probably for the same reason Bell County is. But the Austin area is 5 counties, and so they had a meeting down south, and it cost me $30 in gas to go to a meeting, an hour and a half to drive each way, 3 hours to drive. 3 hours driving time, and so I'm not going to go there unless it is a subject that interests me, or that I'm going to present at, or I've got to get something out of it to put that much into it, especially with as many groups as I advise or am a member of. But I think that's because we are so big and everybody has to travel so far to get to the meetings. So we're having a leadership meeting Saturday night, and I think what we're going to do is talk about rotating where the meetings are. Maybe having them closer to where people live might increase our overall participation. Having a calendar of events so that people, instead of us planning it 2 weeks before the event, saying we're going to have, for example, right now, we know that we are having, in March, we're having a Stop the Bleed class. In April, we're having a foraging class. So we know we're getting things on the books now so that people can have enough time to plan to be at these events. And it's just great. Okay, let's get into the book. Golly. What? I've wasted 10 minutes of your time. I'm sorry. Guarding Your Goods, Strategies for Securing and Concealing Your 90-Day Stockpile. So maintaining operational security of your stockpile is number one. Don't let people know what you're doing. Don't start a channel like mine where you're telling everybody what you've got. You think you're secure even using anonymous names or funny names. I was talking to a guy who's anonymous, and he was really a bully. And I said, well, that's the reason why you're anonymous, is you're a bully. So I don't know how, but he did all kinds of background checks and everything else on me, and he came back with personal information about my family. And I said, that's it. I no longer comment about people being bullies on the internet, because I found out they can find out who you are, even though you may have a pseudonym, and can track you down and can do evil things to you. So And there are some crazies on the internet, believe you me. So step number one, operational security. Nobody needs to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, where you're doing it, or anything else. Number two, concealment and camouflage techniques for your stockpile. So try to hide them. Keep them, if they are in view, make them look like something other than your prepper gear. The low profile advantage, maintaining a low profile is the first rule of prepping. Absolutely. The only thing you'll see there are three things, maybe possibly four. There are four things that you might give you an idea that I'm a prepper. Number one, I have my ham radio call sign and my GMRS call sign on the back of my pickup. And then you see the antennas on my pickup. So that tells you that I'm involved in GMRS radio. It tells you I'm involved in ham radio. I also have a vertical whip antenna in the backyard, along with a wire antenna, an end-fed 80-meter wire antenna that goes around the fence of the backyard. Hard to see, but you do see the RF cable going from the window to the fence post. So, that would tell you that I have HF capabilities for sure. And so that might give it a little bit away. I do have the solar panels on the roof. That kind of tells you I have capability to have some sort of electrical power. Now, what most people don't know is the solar panels on the roof don't mean anything, because if you don't have battery backup, once the grid goes down, they don't produce anything. Okay, you have to have the battery backup in order to go off grid. So that's just one of those things. And then the fourth thing that will give me away is the fact that I have pretty close to 500 gallons worth of a rain catchment system. So they can see the tanks, but they would have to get very close and look over the fence to see the tanks. But you can see the tanks. So those four things kind of give it away that I'm a prepper. Other than that, I think I'm doing pretty good. I think I know how to keep a low profile once SHTF happens, so that nobody comes and bothers me. He talks about making sure you have plants planted around things that will give you away. So the 110 gallons of rain catchment I have on this side of the house over here, that's a great idea. I probably need to plant a couple bushes around that, and just people won't see it. Only problem is then it becomes a little bit more difficult to access the spigot for the rain catchment tanks. But we'll figure out a way to get that done. Which reminds me, and we'll probably talk about it again here later, plant rose bushes around your house, especially around your windows. So any kind of a thorny bush at the base of a window is going to keep anybody from trying to come in through that window into your home. So that's part of this defensive process as well. So camouflaging the stuff inside your home. Now, remember, he's only talking about a 90-day supply, so that's relatively simple to do. Hidden compartments inside your home. I've seen people who used, most homes nowadays are built with 2x4 construction. If you get 2x6 construction, it's a lot easier. Then you can create fake panels, take out your drywall, put storage panels in between the drywall. And because you've got 6 inches now instead of just the 4, actually 3.5 on a 2x4 and 5.5 on a 2x6. But you've got a little bit more space with the 2x6 where you can fit things inside in between the drywall. Clever shelving. He talks about different kinds of clever shelves. Underfloor storage, if you have anything underneath of you. We here in Central Texas, everything is built on concrete slabs. So you don't put anything underneath. And we only have about 2 inches worth of imported topsoil. So if you want more than 2 inches of topsoil in order to dig something down inside, then you're going to have to bring it in and have it done. Or you're going to have a jackhammer and a backhoe. Camouflage furniture. So invest in furniture designed with built-in storage. There's a lot of Japanese furniture. Today we went to Lowe's. I was looking for I'm looking for a chair exercise chair. So I ordered one on Amazon last month. It got lost. I finally got the reimbursement reimbursement yesterday. So today I ordered, we went out looking at all the different furniture stores and everything else for an exercise chair. I ended up buying another one on Amazon, just a different. Oh, wow. Ficgtion says that in Texas, he recommends Chinese holly and pyracantha. Absolutely. I forgot about those. Yeah, that's what we had at our house in El Paso. False walls or panels, we already talked about. Customized closets with fake panels in them so that you can get in there is another good idea. Repurposed furniture, decoy items. On Amazon, you can find, they have several different types, but they have secret stash cans. So they have Pennzoil cans, Barbasol, shaving cream cans, all different kinds of cans. What they are is they're insulated and a screw on top. So you just unscrew the top, put your valuables inside, put it back in, and then put it out in the garage. And nobody's going to think to go through your oil cans out in the garage looking for your gold, silver, and earrings and stuff like that. Kaylin says holly bushes are great also. I did not know that. Thanks for sharing that. So Ficgtion says that pyracantha picks always get infected. And then Kaylin says that holly bushes are also thorny. So yeah, so I hope you're taking notes. Write those down. Wall art concealment, and this is going to be for some of your valuable items and things like that. Ceiling concealment. I saw an advertisement. I was watching something on YouTube, and they have a bookshelf. It looks like it's got 3 plates on it, and it's got a hand wand underneath, and it's got a drop down, and it keeps one of these things inside of that drop down, so it's readily available to you. But that conceals, something for you use for self-defense. Ceiling concealment. I did a lot of that in my last 2 homes. I have not done it here, but I put things up in the ceiling. Now, the reason I don't do it anymore is because here in Central Texas, that space between the, and I have like R100 insulation between the rafters and the ceiling and then the house. But everything above that, I put in plywood floors in our big house that we were in. I put in plywood floors upstairs over the 100R100 batting, and had my stuff up there. But that gets so hot in the summer. I had some things melt, some plastic things melt that were up in the attic. So if you're in an area where it gets really, really hot in the summer, do not do that. Don't put anything up in your attic. Or in your ceiling, I'm sorry. Legal considerations. I want to add to this and say also insurance considerations. So you make sure you're complying with the law. I can't stress that enough. If you're not allowed to have something, and I'll show you something you're not allowed to have, but I'll show you how you can have it until you are allowed to have it here in just a couple of minutes. But make sure you're in compliance with the law. Also, make sure you're in compliance with your insurance, CCRs, covenants, conditions, and restrictions. Okay, so like you may not, if you have 50,000 rounds of ammunition and your house burns down, the insurance company can deny a claim because of the ammunition, excessive ammunition. Same thing with excessive fuel, whether that be butane for your stove or gas, liquid gas, white gas for your Coleman stove, or the little canisters for your what's that called? That jet boil, for your jet boil system. If you have way too much of that, they can also deny your insurance claim. So make sure you're in compliance not only with the law, but also with your insurance company, because you need that stuff afterwards, but you have to have a home to live in until. Okay. So make sure you're in compliance with your local laws. That's going to be city, HOA, things like that, your state laws, and the federal laws. Make sure you're in compliance with zoning regulations. My whip antenna, it's a 24-foot antenna, and it's on a painter's pole, which gets it up there to a total of about 48 feet. But I can take that down. So we have a restriction against having it permanently mounted, but I can put it up when I want it. Otherwise, I use the infed 80 meter, which is horizontally polarized. But it's also, because it's lower than an altitude of 2 wavelengths. That means that it's going to be primarily an invis antenna, near vertical incident skywave. So I'm not going to have the great range I would if it were up higher, but it does comply with the HOA. So now what I can do is, once SHTF happens, then I can get my whip up there. Now I don't worry about the HOA after SHTF. Okay. Legal documentation. Make sure you have everything documented in accordance with that. Have all your permits and licenses. Quite often in an HOA, if you want to put something up, you're going to have to go through an architectural change committee, and they're going to have to approve that change prior to your installation. Make sure you're in compliance with that as well. So if there's any question, make sure you consult with an attorney. I'm down on attorneys right now. I had an attorney. The person who bought my store failed to assume the loan on the photocopier, and it was leased. And I tried to get her to assume the loan. She wouldn't. So I had to sue her for breach of contract. Well, I had to pay off the photocopier, and that was like $6,000 left on the loan. Then I had to keep my business in business in order for the check, when I get it, to go somewhere. And I had to hire the attorney. So the total that I was awarded for it would have cost her like $4,000 if she had just complied. Now she lost a $34,000 judgment, but she didn't have that kind of money. So I have to file a UCC1, and that UCC1 means that if she ever sells the store, then I'm the first person paid $34,000 out of those proceeds. But I'm out $34,000 until that happens. So it's kind of crazy. So what I found out, the reason I told you that story, was because lawyers are in it for lawyers. And lawyers write the laws to keep themselves in business. Lawyers don't give a crap about you, because once I got the award and I asked him to help me collect on it, he said, not my problem. I've got you owe me $24,000 in attorney's fees and and not my problem. Then when I would mail him a question, he wouldn't even answer it. So crazy attorneys. They're just out for more. Okay. Popular bang bangs for self-defense. So the ones that are like this you can carry in a holster are probably the most popular. He talks here about the either the Glock 19 or the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. M&P Shield is what I use for concealed carry. Then my other that I really like is the Ruger Security 9. So that's what I have. My primary carry on my cross draw is a Glock 21, which is 45 ACP. I really love the 45 ACP platform. Now, I was talking an awful lot with Steve Smith, the author of the books that we've read. We just did his book 7 last month, and he and I were talking. He is a big fan of 40 caliber. So I bought a Smith & Wesson 40 caliber. It's a good weapon. I like it, but I prefer my 45. Shotguns. They recommend the 870 Remington or the Mossberg 500. I have one of each. I have the Remington 870, and it's a pump, 12 gauge. That's my bird hunting rifle or shotgun, and that's just a fantastic thing. Then I have a short barrel 20 gauge Mossberg 500, and that's my home defense. Okay, so the shorter barrel, plus there's less recoil with the 20 gauge than there is with the 12 gauge. And so that's going to be what I'm going to use inside the house if I have to. Modern sporting rifles, AR-15s, or the Ruger Mini 14 are good choices. I also like the M1 carbine, the 30 caliber. Problem with that is the ammunition is very hard to come by. I also like the Ruger PCC, which is the pistol caliber carbine. And that is chambered so that it fires a 9mm, just like your pistol. And so you can use one magazine. The Ruger PCC, as a matter of fact, has two different magazines that it will accept either the Ruger Security 9 that I mentioned earlier, or it will accept the Glock 19. So you can accept both of those magazines, and you've got one caliber for both rifle and pistol. If you're in an urban area, that's going to be very good for you because you don't have to worry about getting out past maybe 50 yards. Oh, by the way, contact me if you're in Texas and looking for the Warsaw Pact version of that in 7.62 by 39. I know somebody who's trying to get rid of one. So, of course, you have to go through the background check and all that kinds of stuff. But I know somebody who's willing to get one, and it's a good deal. So if you live in Texas and you qualify and you can pass the federal things and everything else, let me know. I can let you know who the person is who's trying to get rid of it. Make sure you keep your firearms away from kids. Firearms and ammunition. Just lock the room. Trigger locks. I have trigger locks for everything, and that's not just because of the kids, but because for the first year after Helen's car wreck, she had traumatic brain injury. And so I just did not want her having anything where she could touch a trigger at all. So everything in the house is under trigger lock. Make sure that, make sure you know how to get those trigger locks off quickly if you need to use it for home defense. Make sure you maintain your weapons. I think you've seen it several times. I talk about it quite often. I keep a journal. Here it is. I usually keep it right here, but I moved the computer closer to me so that you don't see quite as much of the door or the window, although you still see them. But I keep records of a lot of different things. And one of those is how often I clean my weapons. So I try to dust them, oil them at least every 6 months, and clean them after you use them. Although with modern ammunition, you really don't have the fouling that you did, say, back in the 1970s. You don't have the carbon deposits today that you did back then. Amen. That is the absolute truth. Tuck by V1, hello, welcome, good to see you. Keelan, we'll get into some non-lethal self-defense tools here in just a minute. But I do like that comment, absolutely. Yeah, and one of the other things, you've got Thompson Center Contender, which is a fantastic weapon, and you can get that both in pistol and rifle, and you can get them in the same caliber. There was a while back when I was in high school, 1969, 1970, Ruger came out with, I think it was called the Red Hawk combo, and it was a 44 Magnum, double action 6-shooter, and a carbine that they were both chambered in 44 Magnum. I loved that. I wanted one so bad, but I just never came up with the money. Uh-oh. Sounds like Amazon is delivering something. Let me see here. I can hear a truck out front. I hear a door slamming. Yeah, door opening on an Amazon vehicle. Something's being delivered. So looking forward to that. Make sure you train with anything you're going to use, especially if it's a lethal weapon. Make sure you get regular practice. Go to the range on a regular basis, because it's a skill that if you don't continue to use it, it will degrade. Just a simple thing like one of the things we learned was how to control our breath and how to control our heartbeat. And that becomes extremely important for accurate shooting at long ranges. If you don't practice that, if you don't practice the breathing techniques and the heart control techniques, you get totally out of tune with that. The other thing is a lot of people have a tendency to jerk the trigger. Okay, they're anticipating the recoil, so they'll jerk the trigger. And if you jerk the trigger, you're going to pull down and to the right almost every time that you're shooting. You want to squeeze it gently and just don't anticipate when you're going to have the recoil. Just keep on a continuous, smooth draw on the trigger. And if you do that, you're going to have a lot better accuracy and control your breathing. So berries are good for diuretics and tonic properties and for inflammation. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I just got this. Somebody sent me an email. It showed all the benefits of dandelions. So this just arrived earlier today. It'll be in my prepper haul this weekend. But they said that one of the great things you need medicinally post SHTF is to have dandelion tea available to you. So that's what I'm doing there. Okay, let me see here. We've only got a couple pages left. Self-defense strategies, personal security training, home security measures. I'm going to talk about that. Make sure you have the right self-defense tools and get some training with them. I didn't bring my cane. I meant to, but I left it over there. It's by the front door. Begin with a comprehensive evaluation of potential threats in your area. And then what are you going to do to meet those threats? A lot of times what you can do is just get with your neighbors and be prepared for those threats. However, sometimes it's some of your neighbors who are going to be the threat. So you have to anticipate that as well. Risk, how do you mitigate risk? What are your emergency plans? Make sure you have constant vigilance. Like just now you saw that I have Ring. I have a camera over on this corner of the house, a camera on that corner of the house, a camera at the doorbell. And so that way I have complete coverage of anything before they get into my backyard. So they can't get into my backyard without going through that corner or that corner. And so I kind of have everything covered where I can see what's coming in. Since I do have battery backup, that's one of the things that's on the battery backup. I won't turn on the floodlights. Every time that the Ring goes off right now, the floodlights come on. And that becomes a protective barrier. Kind of like, what was that movie with Charlton Heston, where he was the last human being and the bad guys only came out at night. He had to keep the lights on all night long. Omega Man. That was the book and movie. And then later it was redone. I forget his name. Something like The Last Man or something, or Alone or something. I can't remember. He was also in Independence Day. He flew the alien spacecraft. I Am Legend. Thank you, Ficgtion. Yeah. What's the actor's name? I forget his name. Gen X Gemini, welcome. Good evening. Good to see you. Will Smith, thank you. Thank you. All right. Conflict resolution, learn how to do that with your neighbors especially, and then integrate everything into your prepping stuff. So I brought a whole bunch of show and tell here. We'll talk about that real quick. So one of the things that I was talking about at the meeting last, and I bought these, but I forgot to check the size, but I can use them for a demonstration. As I said, I want to have a whole bunch of caltrops. Oh gosh, there go my nails. Oh, there they are. I want to have a whole bunch of caltrops, and I want to put those in my grassy areas as a foot prevention against people walking. Even though I have it covered with my Ring system, I just want to put caltrops down. And the guy says, those are illegal. I said, I know they're illegal to use. He said, no, they're illegal to possess. You cannot possess them. However, after SHTF happens, then they're not going to probably enforce those laws. So he said, however, and he showed me a box, and he showed me he had a whole bunch of them. So what he did was he went, and I bought the wrong size. I bought the small ones. But these are called fence staples, okay? And you can get this part here up to 2 inches long, which is what I recommend, okay? This is the 3/4 inch. So then you take these and 2 pair of pliers and you pull them apart until they're at 90 degrees. Okay, so you got this 90-degree piece. Now you take another one that's also 90 degrees. Okay, You flip it upside down, you put it in here, and then you use some JB weld, okay, which basically welds the two together, and you just made your own caltrop. So now you have a tool that you can use against anti-pedestrian traffic in that area. Now remember, do not do this until later, okay? Yeah, 90 degrees. So you want that 90-degree angle, okay, on each. And then you're going to just lay this like this. The other one's going to be in opposition to it. Just hang it down in there. And then you can weld the two together. And then no matter what angle it lays on the ground, it's going to have one poking up, okay, no matter how you throw it down on the ground. And so that will go through the sole of the foot or whatever. Now you can also do pretty much the same thing with 2-inch nails. A little bit more complicated to make. You got to weld these two together like this, so you have your 90 degrees. Do this, and then put the other 90 degree on top, and you've got the same thing. But that requires 3 welds, whereas using the staples only requires 1 weld. You can also take 2-inch or 3-inch nails and put them into a hose, okay, at various angles, and then lay that hose out in your yard. And that becomes basically the same thing. Then you can also take these and drive them through something like a 1x2 and just do the 1 inch up. And then you can do these at angles and straight up, and then use that as a barrier as well. So those are all different kinds of barriers that you can do. Please do not have any of these. That's why I'm only showing you components, because it's illegal to make them right now. So please do not do that. They're called caltrops, C-A-L-T-R-O-P. And then what I'm using here, I'll show you what I bought, was, they call them poultry staples, 3/4 inch poultry staples, poultry net staples. I call them 2-inch fence staples is what I told them I wanted. And they sent me over there and I got those. And then you can get 2-inch or 3-inch nails for the other portion of it. Remember that a lot, like we said earlier, you've got the thorny bushes, you've got the rose bushes and things like that. Prickly pear in this area is a good anti-pedestrian traffic denier as well. So you've got all those good kinds of things. Make sure you have something that you can thrust with. This is the USMC fighting knife. That's a good thrusting weapon, so that you can have something, because you're not going to be able to swing if somebody comes in your door. Okay, you're going to have something you can stab or thrust. So having one of these, right, that you have to swing is not that good to defend inside your house. Now, it is a good thing to have in a crowd, but not a good thing to have inside your house as far as personal defense. Just too difficult to wield. That's why I like a fighting cane. And so American Cane Institute has fighting canes. You're going to be surprised at the price. You're going to pay $300 for a fighting cane. But the thing about a fighting cane is it's usually about 30 inches long. It's great. It's a great stabbing tool, thrusting tool. It's got a hook on it. You can use it in several different ways because of the curved handle. If you practice, if you get real good with the curved handle, what you can do is you can do an upward tick motion. Whoops, without the mic. But you can thrust it up, and that's going to catch somebody in the groin. So it's a really great thing to use there. But I think the thrusting of it's going to be more important if you're at a doorway in your home trying to prevent people from coming in. Let me see, what else do I have that I want to show you? Okay, so now for my box. This is my security box, let's call it. So I have a couple of these. This is the 12 gauge perimeter alarm. So it's on a tripwire, and it's spring loaded. So you put a 12 gauge shotgun shell in here. Then when somebody steps on that or trips the tripwire, it ignites the shotgun shell. I have 3 different kinds. I have the regular shotgun shells. Let me see which of these is which. This is lighter. So this is the flashbang shotgun shell. So I can put one of these in here, and when they trip it, It's got a real loud bang, and it's got a flash that'll temporarily blind them if it's nighttime. And then I can get there and take care of the situation. But this is non-lethal, so it's legal to use at any time. Great to have a couple of them spread around. You can also get them in 22 caliber. Just your options with 22 caliber aren't the same as they are with 12 gauge. So with these are CS canisters. These are, well, not CS, but tear gas canisters, let's call them. So basically what I do is I can take this and put it into the same device, and then I put tear gas into the ear right there where that person is, and that's definitely going to temporarily delay them. Just do me a favor. Think about where the tear gas is going to go after it goes off. You don't want to have it aimed towards your door or towards your window or towards any air intakes into your home, because then you're going to be neutralizing yourself just as much as them. Tammy Harder, yes, great way of putting it, great way of thinking of it, the exact same thing. And just think of the damage that the jacks did when you stepped on one at night when you had to go to the bathroom, right? So now think of one with a point that you sharpened, and that's basically what we're talking about. I don't know if it's those. I'm not sure what the chemical composition of these is. I just know it's tear gas. So the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of these cost me roughly $35, I think. And then 10 of the flashbangs was $25. So you got that. You can put out tripwire. So when you put out tripwire, just think about what it is that you're trying to guard against and what your purpose is. I will not put off any kind of an alarm system at anywhere below waist level. And the reason is because of all the wild animals that could set that off. And so with rabbits and coyotes and everything else, you don't want to have everything in the world setting off your alarm system. So if you have it down low, have it for one purpose, and that's going to be for tripwire. So I use tent stakes. I got all different kinds of tent stakes. And then I use either, I have fishing line, monofilament fishing line. I use clear for nighttime. And then you can put all different kinds of things on them. You've got the fishing lights and fishing bells in case your rod moves. Well, the same thing applies if your line moves. The bells and lights go off. Let me put these back so I can get everything out of here and back in. If you've got them waist high, you got all kinds of bells that you can put on. I've got cowbells, all that different kinds of stuff. I've also got, this is what we used in the Army. These are Kevlar wires, and they're camouflaged. They're a little bit more expensive. You can get them at most Army Navy stores. But this is the tripwire we used for the Claymore mine. And so, they are very hardy. They're camouflaged, very, very stout. And that will do you very, very well. They're a little bit on the expensive side, a lot more expensive than the fishing line, but fishing line works, okay? Then another thing you can do is you can get big rat traps. Don't get the mouse traps. Mouse traps aren't strong enough. But you can get the rat trap, and you can do a couple things with the rat trap. So one thing you can do is you can take a Kyalime light, and you can put it inside here so that when the rat trap springs, it comes down, clamps on it, it's going to light off a Kyalime light. Yeah, it's not going to let you know that there's anybody there. You'd have to have something as far as an oral warning, but at least you have a visual warning. It may be enough to scare them off. Another thing you can do is there's a product called Tannerite, Tannerite. You can get it at most gun stores. Well, at least in Texas. I don't know about the other states. Because it's an explosive, it may be a little bit more difficult to find. But you mix it, okay? And once you mix it, it becomes kind of like a putty, let's call it, a moldable putty. So you can take that and put it in here. It won't work with a mousetrap. You've got to use the strength of a rat trap. You can put it in here, and there's enough force when this goes off to have a small explosion. So, you could do that as well. So this could be used either for the Tannerite, or it could be used for the Kyalime sticks. You can think of a couple other good things, I'm sure, of what you could do with. I mean, just the sound of the rat trap itself would be enough to scare most people if they are, encroaching in your backyard. So those are some of the things that I have. I also have a whole bunch of mouse traps, and I'm going to use the mouse traps just as a scary thing. They'll hear the snap and not know what it is. But let me see that. I think that pretty much catches it. I do have some. I got them at Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply has all the equipment for an electronic fence. Okay. So one of those pieces of equipment for an electronic fence is a non-conductive pole that you can stake into the ground. And then it has the part where the wire goes through so that you can have electricity going through the wire. And then it won't be grounded into the ground. Everything is insulated and all that kinds of stuff. Well, those very same sticks that you stick up are about waist high once you get them pounded into the ground, which is a great thing to set off a lot of these traps if you're going to run fishing line or if you're going to run Kevlar line through them. And that would be great protection for you. So that's pretty much what I had. I wanted to show and tell you this evening on some things you might consider around defense in your home. I wish Kevin was here. He's an expert. Man, he can talk me in circles like you would not believe. Let me catch up with your chat. And let's see where we are. We're 46 minutes, so we're pretty good. Just ordered some driveway alarms, but with highs in the low teens lately, they're not installed. I understand that. I still have an antenna to install in the backyard. Haven't done that because of the rain. Gosh, we probably got about 2 inches today. Thank goodness. We've been in a drought, a severe drought, and we need all the rain we can get. Let me get a drink of A&W root beer. Pleasant memories from childhood. And then I went to Catholic elementary, middle school, and high school. So we had the brown bag lunch. They didn't have hot lunches for us in elementary and middle school. But when I got to the 8th grade, there was an A&W root beer stand, a hamburger root beer stand on the corner of our parking lot from where our gym, I don't know what you call it, gym, lunchroom, auditorium, everything all in one. So 8th graders were allowed to go buy lunch at the A&W root beer stand. So, that I became addicted to A&W as a result of that. And plus it's not caffeinated, so it won't keep me up all night. Great idea. Whoever brought that up. Who brought that up? Who gets the credit for that? Yes, all kinds of great ideas on home invasion. Utah Mike, thank you. Great. Go through it, watch it again, and just take notes on all the things that he did, Macaulay Culkin did in the Home Alone movie as far as home protection. Another one you can do, and it's illegal as well, to defend your home this way right now, but you can take like a strip of a 1x2 or a 1x6 and then put your nails through the board and then lay that board on your windowsill so that when people try to climb in, they impale themselves on that, or try to climb in, they can do it to their body or their foot or whatever. So all of that becomes something to use defensively as well. I think Macaulay Culkin uses broken glass in that instance. You aren't kidding, Theoxorus. You are not kidding. And if you do it right, I was thinking, one of the things I could do is I could take my 12 gauge and set it up high, let's say in an eave of the home, so that when the tripwire is pulled, it points down. And then birdshot or something even heavier pointed down would probably do a lot of damage. I don't know what conibear traps are, Utah, Mike. So are you talking about kind of like animal traps? Oh, that would be a good idea too. Like bear traps and I think that might be what you're talking about. I hope it is. Wow. Oh no. Please stay safe. Watch out for people on the road. There are people who don't know how to drive on ice and snow. Um, I almost caused an accident today, and it was my fault. We were coming off the freeway, and Helen was not feeling well, and I needed to get her where she could open the door and go out of the car. And I accidentally pulled in front of a guy. My fault. I was more concerned about getting pulled over to the side of the road than I was about looking for traffic. And so there's people like me that just. I mean, I've never caused a wreck in 72 years, and but I almost did today. Just accident, stupidity on my part. So just please be careful. There are other people like me out there on the road. Cats and prepping. So it says spring gun also illegal. Let me see if there's something they said before that. So he's probably talking about like a spring operated, you can take a PVC pipe and put a round in it, shotgun shell or something like that, and then have a spring activated mechanism that comes up with a small, all you need is a nail head. So a nail head on a spring activated bar could come up and hit your primer, and that turns it into a spring gun basically. And so those are illegal to use right now. But when SHTF happens, then I'm not going to worry about laws too much. Let me see. Tammy still has an A&W drive-in. My favorite has now become Culver's. I like Culver's pork sandwich. And then after that, my next favorite one is, and it's a hard time. I can eat either one and be very happy. Either Chick-fil-A or Popeye's chicken sandwich. So I like both of those. I like their chicken sandwiches, and I like Culver's pork sandwich. One thing, Holly, that I never understood when I was in New Jersey, it seemed like every road I was on was one way. I don't think I saw that many two-way roads in New Jersey. Maybe it was just a part I was in. I was up north around Newark primarily, but it just seemed like everything I was on was one way. Yeah, I don't blame you. You get a lot. You get a lot up there, and then that's wide open plains too. So you get some howling, screaming winds that really take the overall air temperature down even colder because of the wind effect that adds to that. So let me see. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for this evening. Gosh, all you people who joined us this evening for the first time, welcome. We are so happy you joined us. We do this once a week. And so next week on Wednesday, we're going to talk about the next chapter. And the next chapter is really, really important. The last two chapters of this book are extremely important. I think they're two of the most important. And I've got to come up with what book we're going to do after this one. I'll have the book for you next week so you have 2 weeks to get it and be prepared for it. But chapter 8 is the psychology of preparedness, managing a positive prepper mindset in your prepper pantry plan. So how are we going to, I kind of was on the verge of losing it on 9/11. I just never anticipated that. Now I'm kind of getting myself prepared for the fact that there could be 100 of those happening simultaneously. So, get yourself in the proper mindset that we're about ready to see some terrible stuff go down. And, make sure you have your mental health taken care of. And that's what we're going to be talking about next week is that psychology. And then after that, Chapter 9, finishing up the book, is going to be adapting to change, navigating the shifting scenarios. So how are things going to change in life, and how are you going to be able to adapt to that? So I hope this has been a productive hour for you. Thank you all so much for being here with us. Don't forget that the last Thursday of the month, we're going to be talking about nuclear war, and with Annie Jacobson's book. People have quoted this to me as being factual and scientific, but look what it says right there. It says a scenario. It's fiction. It is not nonfiction. She did a lot of good investigation. She has a lot of good hyperbole. She has a lot of good scientific data in there. But remember, when you write a book for a purpose. And this book is not written to inform. This book is written to have you form an opinion. Okay. And so that's the primary purpose of this book, is to make you come out of it with an opinion that will have you doing some political activities. Okay. And so just keep that in mind as you read the book. And we'll be talking about it the last Thursday of this month. So let me see here. It looks like Kaylin, oops, there goes my nail again. They just have a habit of falling off the table. Kaylin says they've got all kinds of one-way streets in Des Moines too. Yeah. Well, thank you, Holly. Always appreciate you being here. Yeah, Mother Earth, there are going to be so many changes. No, I did not notice that, Holly. I did not notice that. I do know that the road around Newark Airport is one way. And so we would come in kind of like at the northeast corner of Newark Airport when we came in from Manhattan. And because we were working primarily New Jersey, Manhattan, well, the 5 boroughs of New York. And then when we went to Long Island, we stayed over. It starts with an O. There's an airport there, but that's where I was for the Giants versus the Cowboys playoff game for the NFC. And I saw more Dallas Cowboy jerseys in the bars than I did New York Giants. But anyhow, it seemed like we came in at that northeast corner, I think it was, of Newark Airport, and then we had to drive counterclockwise all the way around the airport to get to our hotel on the northeast corner, just a couple blocks short of that where we came in. It is a fear-mongering book, Diana, too. That's the purpose of it. And so we will talk about, have those people come to the last Thursday of this month. I mean, I will show you, and I will assuage some of their fears. One of the things that she is very heavy on is quoting T-TAPS, which is Carl Sagan and his group, the Nuclear Winter Group. And that has been more or less debunked as being hyperbole, but still she quotes it quite heavily. All of her resources are CNN and other liberal outlets. And she has a definite anti-bomb agenda in her book, and I'll show you that. Let me see here. Little known prepper, I tell you what, let's make a plan. You can come here, okay? Let's make a plan. You can come here, and we'll get that taken care of. Okay, so that's what we got this evening. Let me get this is the New American Bible version. In my study Bible is the Revised Standard Version. But here we have number 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. So hunker down, guys and gals. Weather's going to get kind of bad. So hunker down, just stay warm, stay protected. Do what you can to prep. Do not get into excessive debt. Even though we think something's going to happen, you don't want to get to the point where you're going to get in trouble because you can't pay off what you owe. So make sure you have a little bit set back for emergencies in case you have a pipe bust or something like that. And like I just told a little known prepper, remember, we're all in this together. And that's so we can come out the other side together. So the only way we can do that is us working together. So please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other. And until then, I will see you next week, same time, same channel. Okay, take care, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.